So this is the multiplying and dividing fractions diagnostic help. So this is the diagnostic. This is question number 4. To review the answers or to review what you got incorrect, obviously if you open it back up and view your summary, you can see an X here. And you can see the correct answer for every question. If you click on the correct answer, you can see the answer that you put into the computer. So when you're looking at your work, don't think that this is the answer you put in. That is the correct answer. If you click it, you can see what you answered. You can click this give feedback. This is only after an assessment or after the diagnostic. You can do this. Obviously, if it's a homework problem, you can get this information and you can press similar question, but you will not get that opportunity on your test. You can also use this question help to help you solve the problem, or you can use the other one, view an example. So both of those options are available, and it's really important for you to use those options to prepare for your test. If you got a question wrong here, guess what? You will get it wrong on the test. So don't wait until the last minute to prepare and understand how to answer these questions and why you need to perform specific operations. So here's our first question. A housekeeper had 3/8 of a spray bottle of cleaning solution. He used 1/9 of the solution in a day. How much of the bottle did he use? So we already know the answer is 1/24, but we need to talk about some logistics for this question. So here's the question right here, and I'm going to go over some logistics. I know this is a multiplication question because right here it says he used 1/9 of the solution in a day. So I'm going to change that used 1/9 of the solution into an expression, and that expression is going to help me find the answer. So he used 1/9 of is to multiply the solution. So I need to replace this solution. The solution, what is the solution? This 1/8 of a spray bottle cleaning solution that he had. So I'm going to replace that with the number 3/8 here. And then I'm going to multiply like normal. Now, since this is already multiplication, you just multiply across. So 1 times 3 for the numerator, which is 3, and 9 times 8 for the denominator, which is 72. Now, this can be simplified because 3 and 72 are both divisible by 3. And since it's a proper fraction, it should stay a proper fraction. How do I know 72 is divisible by 3? Well, if you know your divisibility rules, 7 plus 2 equals 9. And since 9 is divisible by 3, I know that 72 is divisible by 3. 72 is divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and simplify this by dividing the numerator and denominator by 3. 3 divided by 3 for the numerator equals 1. And then 72 divided by 3 for the denominator equals, let's find out, 72 divided by 3. 3 goes into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract, have 1 left over. I bring down my next number, which is a 2. 3 goes into 12 4 times, so I put that 4 right above the number that I brought down. And there you go. So he used 1/24 of the solution. All right, so we can think of a model. We can think of how to model this. So let's say we have a solution bottle. This is going to be our solution bottle. And then I'm just going to draw like a top here. All right. And it only can be filled up to here. All right, so we are starting with 3/8 of a solution because that's all he had. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write 3/8. So I need to shade 3 of 8 because that's how much he has. I need to shade 3 of 8. So I'm going to make 8. So I need 7 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're not going to go past this dotted line. That's too high up. So I need to shade 3 of the 8 in order to show 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead and shade 3 of 8. So this is 1/8, 2/8, because that's 2 of the 8ths, and then 3/8. So this is all the solution that he had in his spray bottle to start with. And then he used 1/9 of the solution. So I needed to take this 3/8 and I need to figure out what is 1/9 of it. That is multiplication. So I need to put 1/9 down here and I need to shade 1 of 9. So I'm going to go ahead and put ninths going in the other direction. So that I need 8 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I can't get this last one in there. 8. Here, let's do this. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ninths. Perfect. Now, of these ninths going vertically up, I need to shade 1 of the 9. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to do a dot because I don't want it to get confusing. I'm going to go all the way up, and that's going to be my 1/9. Oh, I was supposed to go all the way up to there. So that's going to be my 1/9. So if we wanted to use the model, you have to know that your number should get smaller because you're starting with 3/8 and you're using some. So your answer should get lower. So if we wanted to use the model, we should know our answer should get smaller. So we should still stick with the part out of the whole. The part that overlap is the answer, which is going to be your 1, 2, 3 boxes that overlap out of the total number of boxes. So if I were to count all of these boxes, which I'm not going to do because it's going to be 72, because I have 9 groups of 8. So I know 72 is my denominator. That's my fraction for my model. 3 is the part that overlap, and the whole total number of boxes is 72. And of course, you can simplify that the same way we did over there to get the correct answer, 1/24. So he used 1/24 of the solution. So the main thing is to know what the of is to multiply. You have to figure out what is 1/9 of 3/8, because 3/8 is what you're starting with, and you need to use 1/9 of it. Here is one that I want you to look at. How do you know you're supposed to multiply? How do you know you're supposed to multiply for this question? Because it says he used 1/6 of the solution. So you will multiply 3/5 times 1/6. And I know I'm going to have to eventually simplify by dividing by 3, because I can see now that 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. But I'm going to multiply across 3 times 1 for the numerator is 3. And this is already multiplication, so I'm leaving it as multiplication. 5 times 6 is 30. And these are both divisible by 3, my numerator and my denominator. So I'm going to divide the numerator and denominator by 3 to simplify it, to make an equivalent fraction to the original. 3 divided by 3 is 1 for the numerator, and 30 divided by 3 is 10 for the denominator. So this is the answer for this one. Now you could have also cross-simplified. So I noticed that 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3. So if I take this 6, which is my denominator, and divide it by 3, I can change this number to a 2. And since I divided one of my denominators by 3, I need to divide one of my numerators by 3, which is obviously this one. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So my new number is going to be a 1 instead of a 3. So if I were to rewrite this, I would have 1 divided by 5, or 1/5, times 1 divided by, or 1 over 2, my new number. And then you multiply across and get 1/10. So either way you choose to cross simplify or to multiply and then simplify, you're still going to have to simplify. So keep that in mind. So that's the answer for this one. Now let's look at number 6. So we want to complete the division sentence. So we have 5, 6 divided by a number equals 536. So you have to know what division is. Division is repeated subtraction, or to break into groups, or to divide evenly, anything along those lines. No matter what type of division problem you get, you always start with the dividend. So whenever we're trying to model the problem, you start with the dividend because you're going to take the dividend and divide it into equal sections or make groups. So this modeling over here has to start with 5, 6. So we have to come over here and see, where do we see 5, 6 at in this model? So this is one whole rectangle, and 5, 6 is a proper fraction, meaning it's less than 1. So in order to show a fraction that's less than 1, we shade it in purple. So 5, 6 is shaded in purple. And I know that because if I come down here, so I'm down here, I'm going to put my numbers. This is broken up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal sections. So that means this is 6. And if we look here in purple, we can see that 5, 6 is shaded all the way up. 5 out of the 6, going all the way up. And then we will take that 5, 6 and divide it by a number. Now this number is going to be a whole number right here because this quotient is less than the dividend. Because the quotient is less than the dividend, so 536 is less than 5, 6. Because the quotient is less, I know that I had to divide by a number that's greater than this number right here, which is a whole number. So if I come back over here to my model, I can look to see how many equal parts was 5, 6 divided into. So if we come over here going horizontally, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal sections. So this 5, 6 was divided evenly into 6 equal sections. So that's our whole number that we need. And each section is going to have the same amount since our answer should be smaller. And this is that amount right here. This is the amount, the quotient. Each section is going to have this amount. So you will count the amount. So we know that the answer should be smaller because we're taking a fraction and dividing by a whole number. So our answer should be a part out of a whole. The part is going to be what's in one group. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're looking for a part with 5 in each part out of the whole. So I have 6 groups of 6, which is 36. So if I count all of these dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If I count all of the rectangles, I'll get 5. I'll get 36. How much is in one group is going to be the numerator. So every group is going to have 5 36. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 36. So that's that one. So this is a fraction divided by a whole number. All you have to do to get the number is come over here and see how many equal sections the fraction was divided into. Here is another question. Number 7, we want to complete the equation. So we're missing a value here. We are missing a value and we want to know what is that value. So I hope everyone is already saying, I know it's not 2. And the reason we know it's not 2 because 4 times 2 equals 8. If you pick 2, you are just being really lazy because I'm sure you should know that 4 divided by 2 is not equal to 8, but 4 divided by 2 is equal to the number 2. How many groups of 2 are in 4? There are 2 groups of 2 and 4, not 8. So this one is incorrect. So what you have to do in order to figure this problem out, you can open up the model and use it to see what you're making groups of, or you should know that dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of a number, and multiplying by a number is the same as dividing by the reciprocal of that number. So if you know this expression, this equation, because it has an equal sign, if you know this equation here, to change this multiplication sign back into a division sign, and then take the reciprocal of 2. What is the reciprocal of 2? 1/2. That's the answer right there. There are 8 groups of 1/2 and 4. And then you can check your work. 4 divided by 1/2. So we should know that dividing by a number, so since we have division next to division, which is a fraction, we want to change this into multiplication. So I can change my division sign into a multiplication sign and take the reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2, my dividend will never change. It's going to stay the same. 4 times 2 is 8. And since 4 times 2 is 8, I know 4 divided by 1/2 is 8. Because dividing by a number, 1/2 in this case, is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, and vice versa. Multiplying by a number is the same as dividing by the reciprocal. All right? So let's look at the next one. Complete the division sentence. I hope by now you have this, but we're going to do one more example just to make sure. So complete the division sentence. So we have 2 divided by a number is equal to 6. So we have to figure out what that number is, and obviously that number is not what number? It's not 3, because we know that 2 times 3 equals 6. So there is no way that 2 divided by 3 will equal 6 as well. 2 divided by 3 is equal to 2/3, not 6. This is incorrect. So, but you can use this information right here to figure out your correct answer. So dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, and multiplying by a number is the same as dividing by the reciprocal. So if I wanted to change this multiplication into division, I would need to take the reciprocal. So multiplying by a number is the same as dividing by the reciprocal of that number, and the reciprocal of 3 is 1/3. So we can say the question, how groups of 1/3 are in 2? There are 6 groups of 1/3 in 2. We can see that in the model right here. You can open up the model when you're taking your test and get the answer from your model as well. So you always start at the dividend, and whatever you're making groups of, so we're making groups of thirds because our whole number 0 and 2, or 1 and our whole numbers 1 and 2 is broken up into 1, 2, 3 equal sections. So this is going to be thirds, right? So we're making groups of 1/3. We're making groups of 1/3. Now there are 2 different division equations that you can produce here. So the first one is obviously 2 divided by 1/3, because this is what equals 6, because this is where we're making groups of. And the other one is, if we start with 2, you always start with 2, and divide it evenly, that's the division sign, into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal sections. That's going to be equivalent to 2/6. And if we simplify 2/6 by dividing the numerator and denominator by 2, we'll get 1/3, right? So we can say 2 divided by 6 equals 1/3. So you can look at the model and come up with 2 equations. 2 equations. The first one is 2 divided by 1/3, which asks how many 2/3 are in 6. And the second one is 2 being divided evenly into 6 total groups. Each group will have 1/3 in it. So since you're taking a whole number and dividing by a number that's larger than itself, your answer should get smaller, which 1/3 is smaller than 2. And for this one, the first one, if you're starting with 2, which is a whole number, and dividing by a fraction of a number, which is a number less than 1, you're going to get a number that's larger than what you started with. Which makes sense, because from every whole, 0 to 1, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 groups of 1/3. From every whole, you're going to have 3 groups of 1/3. So it's only reasonable that if you're asking how many groups of 1/3 are in 6, your answer, or how many groups of 1/3 are in 2, your answer will be larger, right? So these are some different things that you need to understand to answer constructive response questions. You're always trying to take a whole group of your divisor from your dividend. Always trying to take a whole group. And since you cannot take a whole group of 6 from 2, your answer is going to be a fraction of that, which is a part out of a whole, right? And then for this one, for this division equation, you're trying to take groups of 1/3 from 2. So since you can take more than 2 1/3 from 2, your answer is going to be larger. You can take whole numbers. So this is going to be larger, a whole number. It's going to be a whole number, or it's going to be larger, greater than 1. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole number, but it's going to be greater than 1. Because you can take more than one group of 1/3 from 2 because 1/3 is smaller, if that makes sense. Starting with 2, taking away groups of 1/3, 1/3 is smaller than 2, which goes from here to here. So you're going to end up with a number that's greater. How many 3/4 pound burgers can be made from 6 pounds of ground beef? So you have to know what is the question. You're trying to figure out how many 3/4 pound burgers are in, or can you take from 6 pounds of ground beef. And I thought my little example from our notes, my slides with the patties being made would help with this question, but I guess we got to work on it a little bit more. So we're trying to figure out how many groups of 3/4 are in 6 pounds of ground beef. So you always start off with everything that you have. Everything that we have in this case is 6 pounds of ground beef. This from tells us we need to start with that. Or you could think, what is everything I have? What is being divided? That's always going to be your first term. If you mix up your divisor and dividend, you're going to get the wrong answer. You're going to get the reciprocal of the answer and not the correct. So we're starting with 6 pounds of ground beef, and then we are going to divide it evenly into groups of 3/4. Now, if our divisor was a whole number, then we would say divide it into this number of groups. But since we have a fraction that's a divisor, we're making groups of a fraction, we're going to say we're going to make groups of 3/4. And we can figure out that answer. So we should know that dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the number. So dividing by 3/4 is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. My whole number is going to stay a whole number, and I'm going to just put it over 1 so I don't make the mistake of multiplying that 6 by my numerator and my denominator, which is incorrect. Now 6 is equal to 6 divided by 1 because 6 divided by 1 is still 6. Remember, a fraction is a form of division. 6 divided by 1 is still 6. So these are the same thing. Now I'm ready to multiply across. The goal is to change your division into multiplication. If it's multiplication, you leave it. So we have 6 times 4 for the numerator, which is 24. Now you could have cross simplified for the numerator. And then we have 1 times 3, which is 3. And 24 divided by 3 equals 8. So that means this is equivalent to 8. We can make 8. Now you could have also cross simplified because 6 and 3 are both divisible by 3. So we can take this 3 and divide it by 3 to get 1. And since we divided one of the denominators by 3, we can divide one of the numerators by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So these are our new numbers, 1 and 2. So we can rewrite this fraction as 2 over 1. 2 is our new number, over 1 is still the denominator, times 4 is our numerator, and our new denominator is 1. And if we multiply across, we have 2 times 4 for the numerator, and 1 times 1 for the denominator, and 8 divided by 1 is 8. So you still get the same answer. You can cross simplify or you can simplify at the end, but you still get the same answer. So how many groups of the divisor are in the dividend? You always start with everything that you have, and then what you're making groups of or what you're dividing evenly into is the second term, the divisor. This one right here is straightforward. A small frog is 5/8 inches long. This is number 11. A longer frog is 4 2/5 times as long. It's telling you what operation right there, times as long. How long is the larger frog? So you have to know that 4 2/5 times as long. It's literally that the expression is right here. So in order to multiply fractions, we need to know we can only multiply the numerator times the numerator and the denominator times the denominator. So I have to change this mixed number into an improper fraction right here. So in order to do that, I need to multiply my denominator 5 times my whole number 4, because 5/5 is a whole and I have 4 of those, and that's going to be equivalent to 20/5. So I multiply my 5 times my 4, which is 20, and then I add 2. So that's 22/5. So if I add 2/5 right here, you get 22/5. Same thing. Multiply the denominator times the whole number, and then add the numerator to get 22. And then we multiply that by 5/8. Now I'm going to cross simplify here because I don't want to get a large number. So in order to cross simplify, I see that I have a 5 in the numerator and a 5 in the denominator. 5 divided by 5 equals 1, and 5 divided by 5 down here equals 1. So I had to divide both one numerator and one denominator by the same number. You can also cross simplify the other way because 22 and 8 are even numbers. They are both divisible by 2. So I can say 8 divided by 2 equals 4. So that's going to be my new number here. And since I divided one of my denominators by 2, I need to divide one of my numerators by 2. So 22 divided by 2 is 11. That's my new number up top. So my new fraction is going to be 11 over 1 times 1 over 4. And then if I multiply across, I'll get 11/4. And then I can divide like this. So how many groups of 4 are in 11? I know there are 2 whole groups of 4 in 11 because 2 times 4 is 8. And then it's going to take me 9, 10, 11, 3 more units. I'm going to have 3 left over out of, what did I want, a whole group of 4. So if I wrote that out, it'll be 11 divided by 4. 4 goes into 11 2 whole times. 2 times 4 is 8. I have 3 left over, so I'm going to make a fraction of a fourth, and that fraction is going to be 3/4. So I can make another 3/4 group of a fourth. So that's the answer for that. So you have to know, if it says times, you need to multiply. If it's a mixed number, you change it to an improper fraction and then multiply. If it's a whole number, you can put it over 1 and multiply that way. All right, so we want to find the product. Find the product we want to shade using a model. So this is just an overview of 1/6 or 1/6 of 3/4. So if I come over here to my model, I can see that the side is broken up into fourths because I have 4 equal sections. So I'm just going to put 3/4 here. And then down here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal sections. So this is broken up into 6. So my fraction I'm going to put here is 1/6. And then down here I need to shade 1 of 6. And over here I need to shade 3 of 4. All right. So I basically use the fraction. The numerator is the part that you shade. Of is the total. So basically you shade the numerator, and the denominator is what's used to divide the equal parts. So I'm going to go ahead and shade 3 of 4. So this is 1/4. This is 2/4. And this is 3/4. So I'm starting with 3/4. And then I'm going to take that 3/4 and I'm going to show 1/6 of the 3/4. So I have to first start with the 3/4. And then to take 1/6 of it, I'm going to shade 1/6 all the way up. And now I'm ready to write my answer. So I know my answer is going to be smaller, so I'm looking for a part out of a whole. I'm looking for a part out of a whole. And the overlap is going to be my part that I'm looking for. So my overlap is going to have orange and a purple dot. So that's 1, 2, 3. So that's the part. My numerator is 3. And then the whole is the total number of boxes. So I have 4 groups of 6, which is 24. And obviously this can be simplified because 24 is divisible by 3. How do I know that? Because 2 plus 4, that makes up 24, equals 6, and 6 is divisible by 3. So I know that 24 is divisible by 3 as well. So that's a divisibility rule for 3. If you add up the numbers and that number is divisible by 3, then the whole number is divisible by 3. All right, so you could also use math. So you will have to identify the model on your test, and then you will have to say what the answer is. So if you use math, it will be 3/4 times 1/6. And if you multiply across, that's 3/24. 3 times 3 is 1. 4 times 6 is 24. And obviously you can simplify to get the same answer that you got in the model, 1/8. Here's question number 15. We want to complete the sentence. So the goal for this question is to understand that you can write the same way you can write whole numbers as multiplication is the same way you can write fractions as multiplication and division. So if I were to take, let's say 10 divided by 2 is equivalent to 5. So that means that 5 times 2 is equal to 10. So if we take this number right here, 1/100 times the reciprocal of 4, because dividing by a number is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of that number, we can get our answer, which is 1/400. And since 1/100 divided by 4 is equal to 1/400, that means 4 times 1/400 is equal to 1/100. So you can check that by putting this over 1 and multiplying, cross, and then simplifying, and you can see that that answer is correct. 6 cups of some friends are making cakes for a bake sale. In all, they need 6 cups of sugar. However, they only have a 1/4 cup measure cup. How many times will you need to fill the measuring cup? So they need, everything that they need is 6 cups. So we're going to start with 6 cups, and we're going to keep making groups of 1/4 cup. So I'm making groups of 1/4. So that tells me that that needs to be my divisor, my second term. What I'm making groups of, or what I'm dividing evenly into. How many times will I need to fill the measuring cup? Well, if you use common sense, a whole fourth is going to take 4. 4/4, because there are 4 1/4s and 1. 4 divided by 4 equals 1. There are 4 1/4s and 1. So if it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths for 1, and I need 6 of those, I can take that 4 and multiply by 6, and that'll tell me the answer 24. Or you could just multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So dividing by 1/4 is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/4, which is 4, and you have 6 times 4, which is 24.